Have you ever had that feeling, where your money just seems to vanish, or a surprise bill pops up and bam, instant stress? It feels like navigating personal finance can be, well, pretty overwhelming sometimes. But getting stable, avoiding that whole debt trap thing, it's definitely doable. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a whole bunch of articles, research, expert notes, you name it. And the goal isn't just throwing information at you. We want to give you a clear, sort of actionable roadmap based on what these sources say really works.
Yeah, exactly. Our mission here is to equip you with not just the strategies, the how-to, but also the why behind them. Because understanding those core ideas, that's what empowers you, to make genuinely informed choices. It helps you handle today's, let's face it, complex financial world with more confidence, and ultimately work towards real, lasting financial well-being.
Couldn't agree more. And what's great, I think, is that these sources have steps that apply pretty much wherever you are in life, whether you're just out of college, figuring out your first real job, or, looking years down the line at bigger financial goals. Okay, so let's get into it. Our sources keep hammering this idea of financial literacy as the absolute starting point. So what are we really talking about when we say that, and why is it so, I guess, uniquely crucial right now?
Right. So financial literacy, at its heart, it's your ability to understand and actually use different financial skills effectively. We're talking personal money management, budgeting, investing, the whole package. Why it's so critical today, according to these sources, is because the financial landscape is just intricate, more complex than ever, really. It's the foundation. It empowers you to make smart decisions that lead to long-term financial health, help you steer clear of debt, and actually build wealth over time. And crucially, it helps you prepare for those unexpected bumps in the road, reduces that day-to-day money stress too.
That's interesting, because the sources point out this kind of paradox, right? There's tons of info out there, yet many young adults still start out, well, without a solid financial footing, beyond just not knowing stuff. What specific challenges do the sources highlight, especially with all the digital distractions?
That's a really key point. Yeah, beyond the general lack of education, the digital world itself is a massive factor. Think about how easy e-commerce is. One click and it's bought. Subscription services everywhere. These create what the sources call digital temptations. They make it incredibly easy to develop poor spending habits, maybe rack up debt almost without noticing.
Right, just sort of creeps up on you.
Exactly. Then you layer on things like student loans, a huge burden for many. And don't forget peer pressure in social media. Constantly seeing these often unrealistic lifestyles. It definitely pressures people, especially young adults, to spend money they might not have. It's a constant battle, really.
Okay, so acknowledging all that, how do we actually start building that solid foundation? What role does budgeting play in pushing back against those digital traps and social pressures?
Budgeting comes up again and again as the absolute cornerstone. It's fundamental. It's more than just, tracking where your money went last month. It's a plan, a strategy. It helps you understand exactly what's coming in and what's going out. And that understanding is what gives you the power. Power to plan for goals, tackle debt, make calculated choices instead of just reacting. The sources are really clear.
Yeah.
It's easy to just let your finances happen to you, but having a solid strategy from day one, that's essential for taking control. So practically speaking, first step is tracking all your income, salary, side gigs, whatever. Then identify and categorize your expenses. You've got your fixed costs, rent, utilities, those constants. And then the variable ones, food, entertainment, shopping. This is often where the surprises are, right?
Yeah, where you realize how much those coffees or lunches out actually add up.
Precisely. Next, set clear financial goals. Short-term, like saving for a trip, or long-term, like building an emergency fund. We'll get more into that later. Then you allocate your money based on those goals and priorities. Essentials first, then discretionary spending. And the final piece, which is so important, review and adjust your budget regularly. Life changes, your budget needs to change with it.
Makes sense. So what about the different ways to budget? The sources mentioned a few methods.
Yeah, several popular ones. The 50-30-20 rule is often mentioned because it's flexible. 50% of your income for needs, 30 for wants, 20 for savings and debt. But an interesting point the sources raise is that people sometimes treat that 30% for wants as a target to hit rather than a guideline, which can backfire if it feels too restrictive or leads to guilt.
Okay, so it's about the mindset, not just the percentages.
Exactly. Then there's zero-based budgeting. This one's stricter. Every single dollar gets a job assigned to an expense or savings goal, leaving you with zero unallocated money. Requires real planning, but gives you incredible control.
Sounds intense.
It can be. Then you have the envelope system. Kind of old school, very tangible. You use actual cash and physical envelopes for different categories, groceries, fun money, etc. When the envelope's empty, it's empty.
I can see how that would make spending very real.
Definitely. And finally, there's pay yourself first. This is more of a mindset shift, really. You automate savings first. A set amount goes straight to savings right when you get paid, before you even touch it for bills. The rest is what you have for expenses. Psychologically, seeing less in your checking account can actually help you spend less. It's a neat trick.
It seems like the common thread is just knowing exactly where your money is going. That's the absolute first step, isn't it? What stands out to you about these methods? Is there one that seems, I don't know, more effective for most people? Or does it really depend?
It really depends on the person, honestly. The sources stress that. The best budget is the one you'll actually stick with. But the biggest misconception, that budgeting means you can never have fun. That it's all about restriction. The sources flip that. They frame it as a tool for freedom, for being intentional with your money so you can afford the things that actually matter to you.
Freedom through structure. I like that.
Precisely. For anyone who's tried and, fallen off the wagon, the key is flexibility. See it as a guide, not a cage. Find what clicks with your personality. Consistency beats perfection every time.
Okay, so budget's in place, we're tracking things. What are the next really crucial habits? The day-to-day stuff to actively avoid getting into debt.
Smart spending habits are huge. And the sources get really specific here. First big one, avoid unnecessary and impulse spending. It sounds obvious, but the numbers are revealing. One source calculated that just $25 a week on dining out, which doesn't sound like much, does it? Adds up to $1,300 a year.
Wow. Yeah, that adds up fast.
It does. So a tactic they suggest is to create a gap. When you want to buy something non-essential, wait. A few hours, maybe a day or two. Often that urge just fades. It gives your rational brain time to catch up, Helps you really distinguish wants from actual needs.
The 24-hour rule, basically.
Something like that, yeah. Another big one is embracing secondhand items. Saves money, good for the planet. Win-win. Thinking used textbooks, campus bookstores are almost always pricier than online options or ebooks. Or secondhand dorm stuff, furniture from thrift stores, even used cars. You avoid that massive depreciation hit the second a new car leaves the lot. And it's more common than you might think. One source mentioned close to 83% of Canadians have shopped thrift stores. It's pretty mainstream now.
Good point. What else?
Always be looking for ways to spend less. Student discounts are everywhere if you like travel, food, entertainment. Use coupons, buy generic brands. Use your meal plan if you have one. The sources even suggest small things, like using Skype or similar apps to call home instead of pricey phone plans, or borrowing movies from the library instead of buying them new. Little things add up.
Right. Death by 1,000 cuts, but in reverse. Savings by 1,000 small choices.
Exactly. Finding appropriate housing is key, too. It's usually the biggest expense. Appropriate just means not overextending yourself. Renting instead of buying might make sense, or just not getting too much house. Bigger homes mean bigger utility bills, insurance, maintenance.
That makes sense.
And here's one people often overlook. Negotiate with service providers. Set a reminder, maybe once a year, to call your internet, cable, phone, insurance companies, ask for better rates. Tips from the sources include asking for the loyalty department, mentioning competitor rates, asking about discounts you might qualify for. Be polite, but persistent. Sometimes you got to call back and talk to someone else. It can really pay off.
I've heard that actually works sometimes. Worth a shot.
Definitely. And finally, earn extra money. A part-time job in college, maybe through work study, or side hustles for anyone. Things like running errands, yard work, cleaning, babysitting, selling stuff you don't need anymore, offering simple skills, even renting out things you own but don't use much. Every bit helps.
Okay, this brings up a big one. Credit cards. So convenient, right? But also notoriously tricky. How do we use them wisely? What's the biggest mental hurdle people need to clear to avoid falling into that debt trap?
Credit cards. Yeah, convenience is the hook. The absolute biggest hurdle, based on these sources, truly internalizing that a credit card is a loan, not free money. It sounds simple, but psychologically, people often treat the credit limit like it's their money. It's not. Every cent you spend has to be paid back, and if you don't pay in full and on time, the interest kicks in, and it kicks hard. One source cited the median interest rate across all credit cards in June 2024 as, wait for it, 24.62%.
Oof, yeah, that's a lot.
It's huge. So, rule number 1, underlined, bolded. Pay your balance in full each month. That's how you avoid interest entirely and keep your credit score healthy. If you absolutely can't pay it all, prioritize paying more than the minimum due. Minimum payments barely touch the principal sometimes, especially with high interest. And always Always understand the terms. Read the fine print, especially on those 0% introductory offers. Know the real interest rate, the fees, the penalties.
So discipline is key. Pay it off, know the rules. What about how much we use them?
Good question. Limit usage and applications. Only charge what you know you can comfortably pay off that month. Don't get tempted to utilize your entire credit limit. That's a danger zone. Keeping your balance below 30% of your limit is also really good for your credit score. Shows you're not maxing out. And don't just apply for every card offer you get. Each application triggers a hard inquiry, which can ding your score temporarily. Be selective.
Okay. The sources also talked about good versus bad debt. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure. Bad debt is typically borrowing for things that lose value or don't add financial value, often with really high interest rates. Examples: maxing out credit cards for everyday spending, borrowing to pay existing debt, especially if no interest rate is higher, that's a debt spiral, and definitely payday loans. Payday loans are described as short-term loans with very high interest rates that easily trap borrowers. Even car loans for luxury vehicles might be bad debt if the car isn't helping you earn income. Good debt usually is seen as an investment, something that could increase your net worth or income potential, like a mortgage on a home, if it's affordable for you, or student loans for education that leads to a better career. The key is manageable terms and a clear purpose. Always borrow with purpose. Ask, does this loan help me build something valuable, or is it just for immediate gratification? Understand the terms. Avoid high interest unless it's an absolute emergency.
That distinction is really helpful. For me, the biggest takeaway here is just respect the tool. A credit card isn't inherently evil, but treating it like free cash instead of a loan is where the trouble starts. Paying in full is non-negotiable if you want to avoid that trap. What's your biggest takeaway from the sources on credit?
I think it's the borrowed resource mindset. Seeing that credit limit not as your money, but as the bank's money that they're letting you use temporarily at a potentially very high cost if you're not careful. That mental shift, combined with the practical advice like the 30% utilization rule, seems really powerful. It changes how you approach using the card entirely.
Okay, so we're budgeting, spending smarter, using credit wisely. That's great for proactive planning, but life happens, right? What about those unexpected things, the car repair, the medical bill? How do we build that safety net?
That's where the emergency fund comes in, and yeah, it's absolutely crucial. Our sources define it as a dedicated savings account, specifically set aside to cover unexpected expenses. Think, like you said, a fender bender, an unexpected medical bill, a broken appliance, maybe even sudden income loss or a broken phone. Stuff happens. It's your buffer. It protects you from financial stress and, importantly, stops you from having to reach for credit cards or loans or raiding your regular savings when a crisis hits. It's like your financial first aid kit.
Makes sense. So how much should be in it?
The general rule of thumb cited is 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses. Now, that can sound like a huge number, I know, but the sources emphasize that even a modest emergency fund makes a massive difference. It prevents small emergencies from turning into debt disasters. So if your essential monthly expenses are, say, $3,000, the target is somewhere between $9,000 and $18,000.
Okay, that is a big target. How do you actually build that up without feeling totally overwhelmed?
Good question. Step 1. Make saving a priority. You almost have to treat your emergency fund like a non-negotiable monthly bill. Allocate money specifically for it in your budget. Step 2, and this is a game changer according to the sources, automate contributions. Saving automatically is one of the easiest ways to make your savings consistent. Set up an automatic transfer from checking to a separate savings account each payday.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. You can often split your paycheck through direct deposit too, so a portion goes straight to savings before you even see it. Step 3, start small. Don't get paralyzed by the big final number. Starting small is better than not saving at all. Even a few dollars a week adds up. Consistency is the real key here.
And where should you keep this money? Under the mattress.
Probably not the best idea. Sources say a bank or credit union account is generally the safest. Consider a high-yield savings account so it earns a little interest while staying safe and accessible. Cash has risks, theft, loss, fire, And one more tip, monitor your progress. Seeing that balance grow provides gratification and encouragement. Celebrate the milestones. Positive reinforcement helps build the habit.
It's interesting. The sources mention that about half of all Americans haven't saved a penny or have empty savings accounts, and 70% struggle to save because unexpected stuff keeps happening. It really highlights how powerful just starting and being consistent, even with small amounts, can be in a world where so many are, well, financially vulnerable.
It really does. And when you look at stats like the average U.S. household debt being around $130,922 and the personal savings rate hovering near just 5%, it paints a stark picture. These strategies, budgeting, smart spending, emergency funds, they're not just nice ideas. They're crucial tools for building resilience in that kind of environment. It's about moving from being reactive to proactive.
Okay, so that's prevention and building resilience. But what if someone listening right now is already in that debt trap, feeling stuck? What specific strategies do the sources offer to help dig out?
Right. Crucial question. The absolute first step, stressed in the sources, is stop adding more debt. You can't dig out while digging deeper. Once you've stopped the bleeding, list out everything you owe. Then prioritize. Focus on paying off high-interest debts first, or ones with hefty fees. Those are costing you the most.
Makes sense. Attack the most expensive debt first.
That's one approach, called the debt avalanche method. You list debts by interest rate, highest to lowest, pay minimums on all but the highest interest one, and throw every extra dollar at that top one. Mathematically, this saves the most money on interest over time.
Okay, what's the other main one?
The other popular one is the debt snowball method. This focuses on momentum. You list debts from smallest balance to largest, regardless of interest rate, pay minimums on all but the smallest, and attack that smallest one aggressively. Once it's gone, you take all the money you were paying on it, minimum plus extra, and roll it on to the next smallest debt. This gives you quick wins, which can be really motivating when you feel overwhelmed by large numbers.
So avalanche saves more money. Snowball might keep you more motivated. Pick your poison, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. Depends on your personality. Other strategies include refinancing high-interest debts. Consolidating loans or transferring credit card balances to lower interest options can save a lot on interest. But, and this is a big but, you must do your research to ensure the new terms are favorable. Watch out for fees or tricky conditions. And don't underestimate contacting your creditors. If you're really struggling, call them. Explain what's going on. See if you can work out a temporary lower payment plan or if they have hardship programs. Many are willing to work with you. It can't hurt to ask.
That's good advice. Sometimes just talking helps. But when does it make sense to get, professional help, a credit counselor? And what should you watch out for there?
That's an important threshold. Reputable credit counselors are usually nonprofit. They offer advice on money management, budgeting, debt, and often provide free educational resources. Their counselors should be certified and trained. They'll help you develop a personalized plan. One common tool they use is a debt management plan, DMP. With a DMP, you make one monthly payment to the counseling agency and they distribute it to your creditors, usually for unsecured debts like credit cards or medical bills. Creditors might agree to lower interest rates or waive fees as part of the plan, but you absolutely need to check with all your creditors to be sure they offer the concessions the counselor mentions. DMPs aren't quick fixes. They can take 48 months or more.
Okay, so look for nonprofits, certified counselors. What are the red flags, the things to run away from?
Definitely watch out for organizations charging high fees, sometimes disguised as voluntary contributions. Be wary if they immediately push a DMP as the only solution before really digging into your specific financial situation, or if they charge for basic information. And a huge red flag, anyone promising to remove accurate negative information from your credit report. That's impossible legally. Accurate info stays for up to 7 years, period.
Good to know. What about things like bankruptcy or debt settlement?
The sources mention these as more extreme options. Bankruptcy, Chapter 7 to 13, has serious consequences, significantly damaging your credit score for a long time. Debt settlement is often pushed by for-profit companies. They try to negotiate lump sum payoffs for less than you owe. Sounds good, but they often tell you to stop paying your creditors while they negotiate, which is very risky, and can trash your credit and lead to lawsuits. Extreme caution is advised there.
Got it. So let's shift gears. We've tackled debt, built the emergency fund. What's the next step towards real long-term financial health? Building wealth.
Investing. That's the next logical step. It's the key component of building wealth over time, achieving those big goals like retirement. The sources are pretty blunt. If you do not get your money working for you in the markets, you may never be able to stop working.
Powerful motivator right there.
Isn't it? So where to start? Retirement accounts. Take advantage of tax advantages in accounts like a 401k if your employer offers one, or an IRA if they don't. A common recommendation is putting aside 10-15% of your salary. And absolutely, positively take any company match offered on a 401k. That is literally free money. Don't leave it on the table.
Free money is always good.
Always. Beyond retirement accounts, consider things like mutual funds and ETFs, exchange-traded funds. These pool money from lots of investors, giving you instant diversification. Generally less risky than trying to pick individual stocks, especially for beginners. Now, a word of caution. Avoid tapping retirement savings to pay off debt or cover expenses if you can possibly help it. Unless it's an extreme financial need situation defined by the IRS, like preventing foreclosure or major medical bills. Pulling money out early means you lose the power of compounding that long-term growth engine. Plus, you might face a hefty 10% early withdrawal fee if you're under 59 to half and half on top of income taxes.
So treat retirement funds as truly long-term, almost untouchable.
Ideally, yes. And finally, don't hesitate to seek professional advice. Talking to a financial advisor or planner isn't just for wealthy people. That's a myth. They can offer personalized advice tailored to individual needs, help you sort through options for debt, investing, retirement, whatever your goals are. They can really demystify the whole process and help you prioritize.
Okay, wow. We covered a lot today. We really dug into everything from budgeting basics and smart spending to handling credit wisely, building that crucial emergency fund, tackling existing debt, and even starting to think about investing for the future.
Yeah, we hit on some key themes. The foundational power of just understanding your money, that financial literacy piece, the discipline and control that comes from budgeting, that essential safety net of an emergency fund, and using credit and professional help strategically. They're all connected pieces of the puzzle.
Absolutely. And remember, the goal here, living debt-free or managing debt well, it isn't about punishing yourself or never buying anything fun. It's really about making conscious choices, aligning your spending with what you actually value, and gaining that sense of control so your money serves you and your life goals, not the other way around.
Well said. So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with, based on everything we've discussed. If you had to pick just one small financial habit, something you could start today, which one did the sources suggest might have the biggest ripple effect on your future financial well-being?
Something to think about as you go about your day. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.